Progress.
All right, well, let's get started rocking and rolling here. Welcome to our our newest agent panel here. We are going to talk today about building a vendor network and the power that can have in your business. We have two amazing agents here that have volunteered their time. What I love about this, and I think you're going to hear it come out here too, you've got Brittany, who, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think I'm right, Brittany, you're from Wilmington, so you're a local person, so you've got that built-in kind of network here.
Correct.
Carly, on the other hand, is not a local person, yet she still built a extremely powerful vendor network. From really the day you got here, I remember seeing you invite people to all the morning meetings and building your relationships that way. So let's start off with just a nice warm welcome for these ladies for sharing their time with us. So and then we'll get right on to it. So Brittany, let's start with you. And we've got, if you have some questions, raise your hand at this time too. We'll get some questions at the end too. So why do you feel that agents should place an importance on building vendor relationship partnerships?
Because we are a concierge for our clients. We are working as a fiduciary for our clients, looking out for their best interests, and how can we nominate and speak up for a vendor that we have not used ourselves, that we do not trust, that could ruin our reputation very quickly if we're giving out names and recommending people that we have not researched and validated. It's just extremely important for our reputation, which I hold among all else. And to have trusted people with proven history of great reviews, they've helped others as well. And I know that being responsible for that great, and every time they help one of my clients or help a sphere or someone else, I call that person up and just say, hi, just as I recommend them to you, I want to make sure I can continue recommending them. How was that experience? So it's just very important that I have trusted people because it's my reputation on the line.
Yeah, and it goes so far in building that rapport to keeping that rapport long after the transaction. Carly, what else do you have to add to that?
She really hit the nail on the head, but basically they are an extension of us, even though they're not physically on our real estate team, they're on our real estate team. And if they don't do a good job, then the perception is put back on us because we have so many people that are moving from so many areas around the country. They're relying on us to be the expert, the local market expert of choice. And if we recommend somebody that is subpar or doesn't do a great job, then that is a direct reflection on our services. And we rely on referrals and future business. And so you don't want somebody else's shortcomings to affect our future business.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. Carly, let's start with you on this one then. So how did you go, again, as mentioned at the beginning, you're not originally from Wilmington. So how did you go about building your vendor network? What specific action steps did you take to get that done?
So I am a person that I do not like whenever somebody asks me a question that I don't know the answer to. I'm a sponge, I'm a know-it-all, whatever you want to call it. And so whenever I first moved here, I just moved selling mountain houses. I had sold houses in Asheville for a few years, and with basements and radon and all the problems that mountain properties have, I knew nothing about beach properties. And so whenever I first got here, before I even started hunting down clients, I went to our vendor room and grabbed as many business cards as I could get. And I started scheduling coffees with everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of money. I was starting my business over from scratch with no database, and coffees $2-3. And so I just started scheduling a bunch of coffees because I couldn't afford lunches at the time. And just started picking their brains on their professions and building relationships. I scheduled, I didn't just do one lender, I scheduled 4 or 5 lenders, because even if they deliver the same customer service, the same product, they all plan to do all the same things, I wanted to find somebody that not only could do the job, but align with my personality as well, and my work ethic, my response time, that kind of thing. So, and Brandon is one of them, and I needed to know, he was in insurance at the time, and I needed to know about flood zones. I had no idea the way that worked, not a clue. There are some flood zones in the mountains because of the rivers and stuff, but selling properties at the beach is a whole different beast. And I took Brandon to Starbucks across the street, and he told me everything that I needed to know about insurance and how that worked, and who needs insurance and who doesn't, and COBRA zones and just all the things. And it was a big value add to me because I wanted to learn all this things before a client asked me the question about them. So it really helped me become prepared.
Awesome. So yeah, so you could be that expert for everything. So that even like not just during the transaction, long after the transaction, they knew if they talked to Carli, they were going to get the, driveway repair person that could help them out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And for anybody who's watching this on recording later, if you're in the Mayfair office and didn't know where that vendor area is, we kind of have where the south printer is, and near the kitchen, there is a plethora of business cards for vendors that are in either our preferred vendor network or just that have come in and donated some kind of stuff to the office, whether it's just their time and or maybe some treats. We know that food is definitely the way to many real estate agents' hearts. So awesome. And Ms. Brittany, since you're from here and your experience here was how did you go about building your vendor network? Was it any different or what was it?
It's similar, and yet I also always go after people who have trusted history and proven results. When I need someone, I go to our Rock and Write page and search, and are these agents that I know run a reputable business, that I know that they have also filtered these people out, and then I call the person out. I call the vendor and ask them these questions. What homes have you worked on? Do you have examples of your work? If they're a handyman, I find a job and they're coming to my house before they go to a client's house. I screen them all on my personal property before I have trusted to give their name out. So it's also relying on our fellow agents and just being very careful to screen people. That's how I found it. Rock and Write is a great resource. Every type of vendor you could ever look for, you can find using that little search tool.
That little search tool.
It is beautiful. It's a great resource, and yet don't just trust that. Make sure it's someone who you value their opinion as well, and that you want to model your business after, your reputation after theirs, and then screen them yourself. Do your due diligence.
Yeah, that is really important.
Yeah. Awesome. What were some of the challenges, Brittany, if you can start with this one, what were some of your challenges in building that referral network? Or was it all just smooth sailing? Never had a bad referral?
Oh, no. I've had it. Again, I do that follow-up phone call with my client or my sphere for a very specific reason, because if they do not have a good experience, I need to know it because it is a reflection of myself. And that is protecting my reputation with that person and going forward to make sure I'm not getting them out again. And if it wasn't a great experience, okay, now how can I help fix this? How can I mediate to help it work out great so we can leave a positive impression? Opportunities to fix things can just increase your reputation even farther. And that person thinks highly of you when you're not even necessarily monetarily benefited by it. And yet you step in to help. Whenever you hear those opportunities for improvement, a vendor isn't returning their phone call or didn't show up when they're supposed to. That happens all the time. And it's me also staying on that person to make sure they do, because they know that if they don't, they're going to be cut out, and I supply them a good amount of business. They will not have those opportunities again.
Carli, what challenges or anything different? Any specific challenges that you've had in building that network?
Actually, my very first property that I put under contract here, whenever I moved here, I came to a lunch and learn, and there was a sponsor, there was a home inspector, and highly recommended. I scheduled a home inspection and they didn't show up.
Ooh.
Not only did they not show up, I tried to call them back to just, come from curiosity. You try to figure out what happened. People are human. I give people grace, let's get it back on the schedule, or what do we need to do? Because I didn't know anybody else at the time. And they just never really called me back, didn't apologize, didn't try to reschedule, didn't try to resolve the problem, because had they just not shown up, I would have given them some grace, rescheduled. It's fine. People overbook. Things don't get put on calendars. It's happened to me. It's happened to us all. But they didn't apologize. They didn't try to make it right. And to me, that I care a lot about their customer service on that back end too. And aside from that, and then there's going to be people that people have lives, but I sent somebody a property to do an insurance quote a week and a half ago, and I still haven't heard back. And so that's why you just need to have more than one person for each category. Don't just let one person be your go-to, because they have lives. They go on vacation. You could be on vacation. You could be in the hospital. Like, I don't know what he has going on, and I'm not going to make that judgment call. But you got to have some backups as well.
So that's a perfect kind of follow-up question for that. So what is your recommendation for that? You kind of judge it like, hey, I'm not going to need 3 crawl space people, but I may need 3 or 4 insurance people. Like, do you have any? Like, what's your goal when you're building that network?
Yeah, I try to go by the rule of three, because even if you have three great go-tos, people's schedules get booked up. And in our world, when we have due diligence ending and something comes up last second, you gotta get somebody out there, you're gonna call in your number one person, and then you're gonna go down the line of who's 2 and 3, and if you run out, then you're gonna resort to Rock and Red or Google reviews or whatever you need to do to get the job done, but you've got to have more than one.
Brittany, any other experiences or challenges that you had in building that vendor network? Any challenges you came up along the way?
No, it's the same. It's a lot of communication continues to be a downfall sometimes with these vendors, and that's why you have to stay involved, even if they're not monetarily benefited. Always stay involved with them to help facilitate, make sure they show up when they're supposed to, or have a backup person. And you have to cycle through them. I cycle through handyman. I keep 3 at any given time. When one starts letting me down, all right, I need to go find a third person. So I can have 3 to continually cycle through and quote them out too. Sometimes they get a little too, even though they've been using them for 10 years, sometimes they get a little too happy with their prices. So I need to just get an extra quote just to be sure they're still in the ballpark. And even during our due diligence period, I may have one cross-based company, my number one, quoted. I will tell the client, okay, after closing, here are some other companies I recommend. Feel free, absolutely, get some other quotes as well, so you are more confident with the company that you choose.
And price point's a good thing to take into consideration too, because you may not call upon the same person you would for a $200,000 property that you would for $1 million.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna have people that have different areas of expertise, different, price categories.
Especially home inspectors, to figure out where your home inspectors live. Like I know that one of mine lives in an older home, historic home downtown. So you better believe every historic older home, I'm gonna have her on that when it's possible, because I know that she can speak that window and she can educate without scaring.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are great points to add to that too. It's not just it's the specialization too.
You have to have that relationship to know about them. I have to know that she lives in an older historic home. I have to know that this person is so super hyper detailed. He is phenomenal with new construction, and yet just seeing his name pop up, general listing agents are terrified and don't like him going to the homes. They don't like him. So he's excellent in new construction, because builders turn over the entire report. So just knowing each person's kind of where they best shine and placing them a right fit.
And I'll tack onto that too, is that personality is a big thing, because they may be the best person for the job and get the job done. But if you have a seller or a buyer, or whatever the client is, that has a certain personality and they have a certain level of expectation, you may need to hire the one that's more personable, or the one that's gonna take the extra time, or the one that is a little bit more detail oriented, rather than just coming in straight to do the quote, leaving and not giving them any type of personal attention. Personality is a lot to do with it as well.
And that's huge with lenders, especially. So I know my lender who is great with investors, who is all about the numbers, who's phenomenal at looking at your portfolio, yet he is not warm and fuzzy. And he will, correct, and that's when he does a great job, phenomenal, one of the best in the area. He's not the warm and fuzzy. And for my first home buyers who need their handheld, he will upset them with the way he talks. He's not chameleoning his personality and his communication, and that's okay. He's successful regardless. And so I have other lenders that I know I can bring them in. So you're making the best matches based on personality as well. And that's knowing your lenders, knowing all your vendors. You're not just picking people. You have a relationship, you know about them, to make it a win-win for them too. Don't set them up to fail if they're not going to be a good fit.
Yeah, and whenever I'm talking to people, I'm taking them to lunch, coffee, or whatever, I really care about the conversation that we have, because they're gonna be conversating with our clients too. And fully transparent, I met with this lender one time, I don't think I got 2 words in, and I just learned all about him, his life, his business, all of his accomplishments, his past, where he lived, everything. Never once asked about my business, what my goals were, what I intended to accomplish, what I was looking for in a lender. Those questions that I would, I don't know, it's just, I think you are picking up what I'm putting down. I want somebody that is as involved in customer service and putting the other person before themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. It's all about, it's not just, because that lender clearly has a track record of being a potentially incredible lender.
Yep.
But if the personality fit's not there for you and your business and caring about you, then that you could mismatch them with the client for sure. So we talked a lot about so far, we've talked about a lot about kind of how this potentially benefits your clients and making it kind of all about them. And in my opinion, there is also the what's in it for me factor to this too. So can you, anybody can jump in on this one. How has having a very strong vendor network been beneficial to you in your business?
Well, for me, I'm a concierge, and I tell my clients that I will help facilitate, help get everything scheduled, whether it's pre-listing, so it's getting it painted, pressure washed, whatever needs to be done, and as well as after the transaction. You know, I am still your concierge. I still facilitate, however needed. Any vendors that need to come in for help, I am.
1 o'clock, right?
All right.
It continues, you're good, it continues the relationship way past closing because they know, okay, I need a painter, I'm gonna call Brittany up. I need a landscaper, I'm gonna call Brittany up. She has a resource, she knows somebody for everything. And then on the more monetary aspect of it, not only reputation, which definitely is beyond monetary for me, and keeps the client thinking of me for anything they need as a resource. Monetarily, mine help me out on our events. We do 2 events a year and they help us on those items. I do not want the pressure of needing to have someone that I have to feed them. I have enough pressure on me as it is. I have enough people I'm responsible for. So I don't want the pressure of having to give them 5 transactions or whatnot a month or something. So I do not have them pay for half my website, which I know I could. A lot of agents are very successful in that. For me, it's more of help me with my events and bring things to donate. And then hopefully you're there in person as well, so you can meet and greet people. Help me provide food, help me provide raffle items, donation items that we can raise for charity. So help me on that end. And then I'm not having to feel all the cost on these events. And it's no pressure because I don't need any more pressure on me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, I know a lot of people, the team I came from before my own, we had 3 lenders that provided an X number amount of dollars to the team every single month. They paid for half the website, marketing dollars, they paid for everything. And we were supposed to use these lenders. I don't like the pressure. If I know that lender is not the best fit, just because they gave me marketing dollars to help me pay for my website, I don't want the pressure of using them if I know they're not the right fit for this client, or they're not doing my reputation justice. You know, they have things going on in their life, but they just can't help my clients to the best of their ability right now as I need them to. I'm never going to be locked into using someone personally.
Right.
Although it works so well on the team I was on before we had it, I just retract from that pressure.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And there, I think you hit the nail on the head, like from the financial perspective. It's really, to me, it's those client events that they can help. I mean, I had one where I had a client event that was 100% paid for, covered by my vendor for those years, and they were throwing money at the opportunity in front of our client base because these were more of the financial side, which don't necessarily get involved in every transaction, so they love the opportunity in front of them too.
Think about it more than just the home field people. Like our last client event, we had Midtown Popcorn helping supply donations. It doesn't have to be housing. They're a vendor we use for different items and a whole bunch of items, and they were happy to support us as well.
Yeah.
They got their name on all those popcorn bags, and so it's every type of vendor they use, they can help support you.
Yeah, I think if one thing that I think that a lot of agents I see can have the opportunity for, it's thinking about those that stage of home ownership. How can they offer the value there? And that's where having the relationship with those vendors is powerful. What about you, Ms. Carli? How do you leverage the power of your vendor network to help? What's in it for me? What do you gain from those relationships outside of just the incredible customer service?
So one of my lenders does contribute to my website monthly for leads that come through, of course, with the expectation of being buyers that come through that don't already have a lender, that they go to her. And then in the past, I haven't done this recently because I recently switched attorneys, but I did have an attorney contribute towards Facebook ads as well.
Okay.
I had an amount monthly that they would give us to spend. And then I have a few vendors that give us some coupons for furniture and things like that. Like I would, I don't know if it's gonna be in this folder or not. They may have taken it out with 2.0, but the yellow pages exercise. whenever I first moved here, and whenever I first started my business in Asheville, I used the Yellow Pages exercise. I don't know that it's dive deep briefly, but basically you just go down the list in the Yellow Pages, who's a company, starts with A, B, C, go through the entire alphabet, and add those people to your database. You call them and say, hey, are you currently accepting new clients? We're talking about just client repair places, and just chiropractors, anybody in the entire area that you need to add somebody to your vendor list for whenever people move here, not just real estate services, but when people move here, they need hairstylists, they need chiropractors, they need pediatricians, dermatologists, all the things. And so I started building the database that way. And then whenever I would go to some of those places, they would not only provide brochures and business cards and things for our buyer packets, they would also include some like discounts, coupons and things. So I think that was a benefit to some of our clients that needed to furnish their houses whenever we had a furniture discount thing in there. So website, coupons.
Yeah, no, I think that those are huge points there, especially I love and I don't know if it's in the new goal either. I don't know if it's just been replaced by the memory jogger. I know the memory jogger's always been there. But that's another, if they're not gonna do that, then just the memory jogger alone is pretty beneficial too. But yeah, that's a huge point in getting, it's so important because I see dozens of posts every day on the Facebook groups that are like, hey, I'm moving to the area. Who do you know who's a hairstylist? And, you know, clearly very important. It's not really that important to me. I can go to any Supercuts or Great Clips and get my hair cut, but for a lot of people, it is super important. So those are some great points. I'm afraid of the answer to this question, but I'm confident that I'm going to get a good answer to this next question here. So where do you currently keep your vendor network? Like, where is that? Like, how do you know who to go to for what?
We do have a Google sheet of everybody, and then they are also in command of tags.
Okay.
And whenever we have buyers that are under contract, we have a specific tag for, we use National Property Inspections for our inspections. So if the buyers use NPI, we have a tag for NPI. If they used our electrician or whoever it is, we do put tags in there so that at the end of the year, we not do this past year because we've only been in business 3 years here. So it will snowball, and the intention is at the end of the year this year, we can go back and say, hey, NPI, we sent you 60 home inspections this year. You know, we haven't received our referral.
Big tear in my eye, Carly.
I know. They're doing it. Well, I'm not doing it. My team is doing it. My Courtney is doing it. My Kim is doing it. But yeah, that is the intention. So we can say, hey, we're sending you lots of business. I understand that you work with a lot of realtors. Understandably, that is your network of database. But if somebody in your family or friend network, or somebody's doing a free home inspection to put their home on the market and they don't have an agent, we would just like our name to be thrown in the hat.
Yeah. So
And if
awesome.
you don't ask, they're not gonna.
Yeah. So Google Sheets to kind of have them all in one place, and then also, do you have the vendors themselves in your command?
Yes,
Okay.
and they are
And they are
uploaded to our MailChimp, and they get our monthly newsletter.
Awesome, awesome. What about you, Ms. Brittany?
I'm the answer you were scared of. Here in my phone. We do have them. I know. We do have certain ones that we use all the time that the staff operations team knows to always go to these. These are our people. And when I was making care calls, such as after Florence, I do have them on a sheet. And so I would hand out that sheet to everyone as well with our care calls. So these are rapers, these are painters. This is all of everyone on there. And I have at least 3 or 4 for most types of vendors. I do not pass it out currently because I keep up it's very moving target for me on who I'm recommending at the moment, because my reputation does mean so much to me, and I want to know that they actively did a great job last month. And so it's the people, because you can fall off my list extremely quickly and I'll never recommend you again. So, and at one point I did have them all on my website as well. And again, I took them off because it is a moving target. You can come off my list in 30 seconds from a bad reputation, bad feedback. And I don't want to be, if you put it on the internet, it lives forever. And I don't want it to come back to me if you start going downhill in your service. And then I did have it out on the internet that was advertising for you. So we don't have it publicly out there anymore. I do just, when we have need to do care calls, hopefully we won't again after Hurricane Florence, although it's not a simple document.
Awesome.
And I need to have them in a database.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean,
I'm a working.
you're
work in progress.
working on your
Work in
operation
progress.
side of things, yeah, a little bit, so, awesome. So, the last question that I had here, and then I'll open up to whatever you guys have, you kind of have answered a lot, but is there anything more you wanted to add about, what other values that the vendors bring to your business for you?
And for me, I have gotten opportunities from my vendors as well, and that's part of keeping a good relationship with them too. That there's an expectation too. If I'm going to have their name as one of my trusted people, my name is going to be as one of their trusted people as well. I don't expect to be their number one, and I do expect to be one of their top three, which is what they are to me. There is no pressure, there's no obligation. However, I just want my name in the top three, just like you are. They're not my number one. You're not getting 100% of my clients. You are my top three. I love the same person. Right.
So how do you massage that conversation out as far as looking for referral opportunities or business opportunities? So
When I talk to them, every time I have the opportunity, by the way, who else do you know? Always keep in mind, when you hear of other people, let me know. When you're doing other work in the community, my painter. Don't forget, when you're out there, if you hear of anybody else who's painting their house, getting ready, thinking of selling, always make sure you let me know.
And honestly, that's part of my interview process. Whenever I was taking people to coffees and such, I met with an insurance guy one time, his wife was a real estate. He's not my insurance guy.
yeah, there's
But
nothing.
I do business with people that do this with me, and
Sure.
understandably, it may take some time, it may take years for the opportunity to present itself from that person. I may not even get it then, because, you know, their database is realtors too, that's how they eat. But you have zero chance with somebody like that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
rightly so, their number one obligation
Should be to their spouse.
I would hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's neither, you know,
So you don't want to put them in that awkward situation either.
Yeah.
Then it's awkward. If our name's not gonna be in your top three, then unfortunately it won't be in our top three either.
Yeah, and I think that's important. It's an important takeaway too. Like there are certain, like if you are a new agent starting, like are there certain fields that you think would be more beneficial to building your network as opposed to something you could potentially add down the road? Like who are the like top three? I need to have 3 of these people in my network.
You get someone under contract, you have to have a home inspection. So start going with other agents to their home inspections. Ask them who they use and ask them to be track of them when they go there. So you can see how that home inspector works and if it's a good fit for your business. Before that, lenders. So meeting with the lender, shadowing them on some meetings with clients as well, with your client. Seeing how they work in action before you give out their name. So lender, you have to have a meeting, and then home inspector. And then handyman for me is just always needed, and it comes up very quickly and sometimes for quotes. So again, I find out random projects around my home and I'm like, okay, Chris, you're coming over to my house, I got something for you to do before I'll give out your name.
Awesome.
And attorney. Yeah,
Yes.
I think you gotta screen them and look for the red flags. Why am I not going to be associated with you?
What questions anybody in the room have, anybody on Zoom have that I didn't ask yet?
And I think it's important too, no matter who you're using, even if you've been with them forever or the top realtor recommends them, the minute their quality of service starts letting down, you need to pivot and have a backup person because you don't want to be dragged down with them.
You got Kelly.
Carly, you mentioned that you have some vendors or lenders that contribute to your website costs each month. Do you do anything in exchange for that on the website? Do you have any promotions or mentions?
I don't, it's just whenever they come through, I connect with them, if they don't have one already, then they get this, which is kind of a loyalty thing. And then the way that that structure is, they just PayPal my business account. And then I provide a copy, I just pay the invoice itself, and then I provide a copy of the invoice to them so that they can provide it for their expense report for their company.
And I would definitely be careful putting out there publicly only one name on your website. So if they're helping pay half, I would be careful of saying they can be on it because then you're only marketing one lender and that won't separate your ED in trouble. You've got to be putting 3 lenders on there. And most websites, you only want one person paying for it. So it's just a gray area. So I would legally just have that expectation with the vendor that they cannot be public facing on there because you have to get 3 days.
And I think that, and the way I always work that too, if it's something that you're interested in adding to your business, even if it didn't necessarily get a lot of buyer opportunities directly from the website, because they were in that preferred network of mine, they got the top opportunity for those other ones that came through. So it wasn't just, it's not just the internet buyers that they're getting.
That's a good point. We have that partnership
Yeah.
and that relationship,
Yeah.
so anybody that comes through from
And
open houses. or
That's
whatever,
where it's important to have that system in wherever you have it to say, hey, you know, because when they come to you and say, hey, I'm not getting enough from its website advertising spend, I'm gonna pull that out. And you can say, well, you may not have gotten 7 from the website, but you did get 30 from me. So I think this relationship is working pretty well. So, but I had that come back.
And most lenders have a marketing budget from their company, so half the time it's like they're coming out of their
Oh,
own
definitely.
pocket. They've got to spend, well, they don't have to spend money, but they have allowances to host broker opens, open houses, and things like that they're already doing, so they have it available.
Thinking about ways to partner with them too. One lender I'm working with right now has created a flyer for me that he's willing to give $1,000 credit from the lending side to them, and we're willing to do something too. That way I can get a hold of this in front of the business with the opportunity, so it's
Yeah.
mutually beneficial value. And they're creating it, they're coming up with the whole thing, I'm just gonna help get it out there.
What are the questions from the audience?
Is there anything that y'all are doing differently in their business that we haven't?
So Jody has, moved everybody in her phone,
Mhm.
heard you there.
Yeah.
So to try and get that all to command, having 3 that you're regularly using, so how many deals are you each doing a year, and are you truly splitting it between your top 3? So how many deals are you taking back out to them?
Last year, my team did 61, and our goal is 180 this year.
Wow,
I mean,
you need more than 3, don't you?
yeah, and I have more than 3 on some categories, just because they do have different niches and price ranges and different things, but I mean, yes, I have at least 3 for the high demand categories, but I also just resort to running red if I need it. Let's say all 3 of mine are booked up, or some of them I may have 5 people and all 5 of them are booked up and I need it done within the next 4 days. And I'm gonna trust our peers and everybody else's recommendations on who they use and just be resourceful. I mean, I think that we do send everybody some business. I'll say that some of our vendors are getting a little frustrated because a lot of times we're getting a lot of quotes and the buyers may not move forward with the property. Or whenever they purchase the property, they may not use the credit that they got for it. If they got a credit for it, to actually having the work done. You may be experiencing this too. There's a lot of contractors that are starting to charge even to go out and do estimates. And while I, as a business owner, I completely understand that, because in this high demand market, they can go out and just spend their entire days and weeks just quoting jobs that they never actually get work for. And they're spending time away from their business actually completing jobs to do those things. So while I respect it, it is our job to protect our buyers' money and to help them save money. And so if we can, I do like to use contractors that don't charge upfront. So on my vendor list, if I know that it's a buyer that is using all of their life savings to purchase a property, I'm probably gonna go with the vendors that aren't charging for those inspections upfront. And then if I have people that, it's still our job to save the money, but if you have people that are a little more on the wealthy side and the ones that don't charge for inspections are booked up, then I'm gonna go with the ones that do charge, but running it by the clients, of course, first, that they have that expectation set.
And feel free to ask if they will waive that as well. If I continue to send you more opportunities, will you waive that?
Yeah.
Just like with your photographer and with everyone else, they may charge a distance fee. Well, I'm gonna continue to send you more opportunities, so will you waive that and not charge me that expense to go to other areas? Feel free to ask them. It doesn't hurt to ask, and they'll appreciate it as a business owner.
Normally, if you ask, they
Ask, then they will, because they know they're gonna have more opportunities and they're gonna be one of your top ones. It's the one-offs when they know they're not gonna get more business from you. I think that's when they're more likely to say no. But when you explain to them that this is what I do, I'll give more opportunities to get your name in front of more people, usually they'll go ahead and give an exception.
And I think that we ran into a scenario one time where I needed a vendor. It wasn't too long after I moved here. I asked Brittany for somebody, I think it was a plumber or something, came highly recommended, and the guy said, yeah, well, I'll go out, and it's gonna cost you blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, well, Brittany Allen, like recommended you. Oh, well, if it was for Brittany, then, don't worry about it.
No
Just
cost.
name drop if you need to.
100%. It goes
Because
far.
the relationships go, because, oh, okay, Brittany, well, she sent him a ton of business, she recommended me or him to me, and so that was just another opportunity that came from Brittany again, and so it's just, it adds to that credibility.
And I tell my clients that all the time, make sure you drop my name, tell them my name, because they'll make sure that the standard that I expect is upheld. Not to say they wouldn't do it anyway, however, they know that I'm gonna be following up after that, and they better have upheld it.
I don't wanna burn that bridge.
They don't want to, because they burn it.
Who's this Carli person? That's
Done,
okay.
right?
Brittany, we're not messing with her.
They don't want to.
I thought of another question for you. We've kind of talked a lot about like those really important relationships from like the lender, home inspector, attorney, all that stuff right out of the gate. Is there a specific like ninja top secret referral type business that you found that maybe some people aren't thinking of that it's important to put in your network? Example, hairdressers know everybody in town, they know everybody's coming and going, who's getting divorced, who's having kids. Is there something like that that maybe agents are overlooking as someone that's important in their vendor network?
One of my handymen has been good to me, because he is often getting called out to homes, and he's able to explain it, and sometimes they mention that they're doing it to help resale value, and he's like, oh, okay, well, by the way, if you do want to see how much it helped, give her a call, because she can tell you. So he gives me to her for a year, and yet it's like a 10-year relationship, which adds up. So, and just the fact that he's thinking of me, and he's having that conversation, he knows how to script it, he's a handyman, you know?
I have a client that's a property manager at an apartment complex. I helped her and her husband sell their house and buy another, and of course, she's not gonna hurt her pocket with the leases that she gets, but when people express interest of no longer wanting to renew their lease, they wanna try to buy a house, she will text me and say, hey, so-and-so, is gonna reach out to you, just send your phone number.
Yeah.
So we have a good partnership.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are two great ones. Because I think it's, when I'm thinking of that, it's the people who are going to get there before the transaction, before the people they're just putting it out in the universe that they're thinking about buying. So those are two great examples. Because, and I always mention this to my home inspector partners too. They're not going to do, they're going to have very limited opportunities to give you quotes. And they're getting in there after the house is already getting for a pre-listing inspection or when it's already under contract. So the likelihood of them being able to send you straight referrals from their day-to-day business is a challenge.
And never underestimate the relationship you have with general people as well. Like, I've been very intentional to build a relationship with the employees at Cape Public Utility. Yes, it's already after the fact for them. However, they're still hearing my name. I now have a relationship with all of them. With my rental properties now, my deals get expedited, and that switch happens very quickly versus other people can wait 2 to 3 days. Same thing, if I bring in one of my clients, they're buying a home or buying a home and they need it, I can just send it over to my girl and she will have expedited for them very quickly. So never underestimate any type of relationship that you can build, even if it doesn't seem too obvious.
I'm gonna say I agree with that, to tack on to that, I have a past client that works at, Window Ninjas. And took a new listing in Landfall this past week, and they already had Window Ninjas on their schedule, they were booked out for a few weeks. And we were gonna be scheduling the photos and listing the property for sale, and I called, she was a past client of mine, I called her and said, hey, can you move this up a little bit? And she got us moved up, so you're gonna have those opportunities just for those, connections, even if it's not a real estate opportunity, it helps, like, I was able to go back to my clients. I had a house to sell in Landfall, you guys are pretty,
And they know other people that caliber too, so now you've gone
Right, now you're
over
doing
and above
Yeah.
on that concierge.
they were
level.
so excited because they called themselves and weren't able to get hooked, and I was like, well, watch this. And they love me, that's a part of the relationships and what we bring to the table, to provide that superior customer service they're trying to provide.
What questions do you ladies think of that I haven't asked? Oh, I'm sorry, Cassie.
I was just gonna chime in for training purposes for agents watching. I think what's been really beneficial in working with Brittany is she's brought me in under her wing to either make the first connection with vendors or to introduce me or for me to name drop her, because as a transaction manager who's on our team, I'm making a lot of the connections with the vendors. So there's a big, rapport in who's scheduling your appointments. And from an admin side, I learned which companies need what questions answered before they're even gonna consider putting us on the calendar. So just having like all of those ducks in a row for when you're gonna make an appointment, to have that best working relationship and communication.
Awesome. Any other questions, thoughts? Is there anything I didn't ask?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you, ladies, again, for volunteering the time. I know you should be out there probably selling 2 more houses in this hour, but, we appreciate you being open to sharing your knowledge and expertise. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.